Hi everybody, it's Sarah. I'm just going to do a quick how-to for Slack. I just did some quick research on a few tips and tricks for Slack and thought I would just share them with you to make your process of using Slack easier. So I'm going to start with signing in, and then I'll show you just some cool features and show you where you can look for questions that you might have if I can't answer them. So I'll try to go slow, and then I'll also keep this video on YouTube so that you guys can look back at it later. So to sign in, hopefully you have this little icon down here pinned. If not, it's really easy. You just right click and you can pin or unpin from your taskbar. So if you click here, this window pops up and you select sign in. It opens up Chrome, and then you hit open Slack, and it'll bring you back to this page and get you signed in to your stuff. So this is what most people's Slack looks like when you log in the first time. So I wanted to show you a few cool things that you can do. The first thing is that you can change how it looks. So most people have this like eggplant theme. So to change the way it looks, you go up to your profile, your little picture up here, click on it, and then preferences. So preferences is pretty much anything you want to change, you go to preferences. So if we're changing the way that it looks, you'll want to go down to this third option here, themes. This will let you change whether it's dark or light, and then you can also change the colors as well. So there's a lot of options here, and then you can also click on more classic options. I'll choose this one. So it automatically changes the way that your Slack looks. Another thing to change if you're feeling overwhelmed, sorry there's a baby crying in the background if you can hear it. If you're overwhelmed by all of these messages, or I'm sorry, channels, you can click this arrow and it just minimizes what you see. If you have something selected, it's going to show up, but if I click on something else, that goes away. I'll also go through some of the channels that we have and how to notify people, and then notifications versus unread messages. So these are all of our channels, right? So we've got a million channels for our appointments with doctors, CSRs, remote techs, treatment teams, and doctors. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by getting notified by everything, there's a couple things that you can do. So let's say that you are a remote tech or a VA, you don't necessarily need to be notified about messages that are coming in to the CSRs and EM channel. So on each channel you can go up to the title, click the drop down, and then change how you want to be notified. So it'll say get notifications for all messages, but you can change that where you can mute the channel, and any unread message will just show up as bold, but you won't get a notification or a badge. But if you would like to get a notification, you can choose this option, which is @mention. So for example, if someone in this CSRs and EM channel needed to get my attention and they said @Sarah, hey, will you take a look at this? I'll then get the notification. If not, if I just mute it, it'll show up as bold in this list over here. So for example, if you're a VA or a CSR, you probably want to get notified for all messages when it comes to the appointments channels, because you want to be notified every time there's a new message in here, because someone isn't necessarily going to say, hey, at Jackie, Fluffy is here for Dr. Dunn's appointment. Someone's just going to say Fluffy is here. So you want to be notified every time that comes in. So in this case, I would select all messages. Get notifications for all messages. But let's say for lunches and tens, the Z party line, if you don't want to get a notification every single time a message comes in, you can select at mentions, and you'll only get notified if you're mentioned, or you can mute it altogether, and any unread message will just show up as bold here. At the top here, this also shows you, you can customize this, but you can see here that the word unreads is in bold. That means that there are unread messages that I have not looked at. If you click on it, it'll show you everything here. Threads. So threads is a pretty cool feature. You can use this to talk about an issue or a topic and keep the thread consistent and concise, and it's all in one place. So for example, I was talking about health certificates this morning and did a test message here where I said, hey, how's the Canada Health Certificate going? So if someone else had any information on that, they could then reply to that message and say, yes, blah, 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 everything looks good, and then hit send message. So then this now becomes a thread about the Canada Health Certificate. So over here, if any CSR is looking at these messages, they can then view this thread and follow along with what's going on about the Canada Health Certificate. Rather than with Trillian, you would have to scroll through and kind of follow along in the entire message thread. So you can reply to specific messages and follow along with the thread. So when you're in a channel, like this one, for example, the CSR team, when you're in a channel, if you're trying to get the attention of everyone in the group, you can select at, or you can at channel. And as you can see, this says notify everyone in this channel. So regardless of whether people are signed in or not, or if they're on, it'll give everyone a notification, even if their channel is muted. If you want to just notify the people that are logged in, you can do at here, and this will notify every online member in this specific channel. So regardless of whether they have that channel muted, it will notify everyone logged in to that channel. Okay, so I'll move on to changing your status. So if you are gone for the weekend and you want to change your status, or if you're going away to lunch, you can click on your profile and update your status. So let's say you're going to lunch and you're going to be gone for an hour. You can remove the status after 1 hour and pause notifications during that hour. Or let's say you are going on, you're going to be gone for the weekend. So you don't have to put anything as your status, but in my case, I'll put back for 18. And I want to remove my status on the 18th. And I'm starting work at 7:30, so I'll have that clear at 7:30, and I want to pause notifications until then. So when I come back on the 18th, I'll start getting notifications from Slack. Let's see here. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about notifications versus unread messages. So notifications are designed to make it clear when you're needed. So notifications are the little pop-up that show up right down here where it says, hey, there's a new message from this channel, right? Like we're all used to a trillion. That's considered a notification. So when you're needed or when you have a channel that is set to notify you, that's designed to make it clear when you're needed or when you need to pay attention. If you are mentioned, so if someone says at Sarah or at Anya, it's going to show up, I don't have an example of course, it's going to show up with a little badge right here that has a 1 or a 2, and that lets you know that, hey, you need to take a look at that. So you'll get notified, and then you'll also see a badge here where someone is trying to get your attention. If you have a channel muted, or you have it selected where you're not going to get notifications, but Slack is trying to tell you that there are unread messages, it's going to appear in bold. So for example, this here is bold. I know that there's new messages in here that I haven't seen, but because I have selected to mute this channel for myself, I'm not going to get notified every time that there's a new message, but I can still see that there's unread things. So if I wanted to look in there, click on this, and I can scroll down and see that there's a new message. If I go back here, this then is not bold anymore because I just looked at the latest message that I hadn't seen yet. So for appointment channels, I would recommend that everyone should be notified every time because someone isn't going to at you. But if you don't want a notification every time someone adds something to, for example, the party line or the pharmacy line or something that you don't always want to be notified about, you can change that only to when you're mentioned. And again, to change that setting, you would click on the channel, click this drop-down menu, and then change your notification settings here. And then also for most channels, there is a description for what it is. For example, I have here treatment team and Parton. The description is communication between Parton and treatment team. So if Parton needs something from anyone in the treatment team, she's going to message this. But let's see the difference between that and the appointments with Parton. Description is for appointment check-ins, progress reports, and questions for the treatment team to relay to Parton while she's at work. So hopefully that clears things up. If there isn't a description, feel free to message me if that would be helpful, or I believe you might be able to add your own. If you can't, let me know and I'm happy to add that if that would be helpful. So up here you can navigate Slack with arrows, just like a web browser. You can go back, you can go forward, and this clock will show you your most recent channels. You can also search for anything. So if you're looking for a specific message, a specific file, a channel, or a person, you can search for anything here. So that might be helpful if you've attached a picture and you can't find it, you can always search for it. You can also view 2 different conversations. So let's see, if I want to view this treatment team and Dr. Parton, but I also want to look at Dr. Parton's appointments as well, I can, so I have this selected, and then I can hit Control and then click on Appointments Parton. So it'll show both channels at the same time. So again, to see 2 channels at the same time, You select one channel, hit Control, and then click the other channel that you want to see. And then to get out of it, you can either go back or unselect the one that you want. Let's see. Oh, another cool feature, so you can save messages. So let's say I'm going to go to the CSR team all. So, so for this health certificate message, let's say somebody asked me to do something with this health certificate, and I'm going to go away to lunch, or someone isn't able to finish labs, and so I need to remember to do labs when I get back. You can go over to this little ribbon and select Add to Saved Items. You can also do this for photos, files, anything. And it's always going to be saved in your saved items here. So these are only visible to you, so you can save them for your personal use or some things you need to remember. So I have my saved message, and the cool thing I can do is remind myself about it. So if I select remind me about this in 1 hour, so oh, I need to work on that health certificate in an hour, I'm going to select this, and then Slack will remind me down here in an hour that I need to do that thing. And then to remove it from my saved items, I just select this little ribbon again and it removes it. Okay, and then the last thing is just the help feature. So if you select this little question mark here, you can literally search for anything, like how do I add a file, or how do I send a message, how do I create a direct message. Most of the stuff that I did today, I just looked at up here and found the answers. So if you can't figure something out, just select this question mark and it'll tell you how to do it. If you can't figure it out, just message me and I'm happy to try and figure it out for you. I hope that helped and made Slack a little less intimidating. So thanks for watching. Bye!